They can bury the truth, but they can't kill the soul. Cut through the noise, get back to what matters. Stomp that floor, raise that hand, hear that truth roll across the land. We've been bent, we've been bruised, still we stand with nothing to lose. It ain't easy, it ain't easy. The road is long and hard. We stand for our freedom right here in our own backyard. Yes, Patriot Mike, standing tall and free. Patriot Mike, for you and for me. Strapped in. You're live with the Patriot Mike Show.
Hola amigos, yo soy su new presidente, el señor Donaldo J. Trumpo. I'm here to deport all these illegal aliens from El Morocco. Ay, 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 amigos, why did you let them in, oh? El Morocco es mucho loco and they stinko because they're a shitholio when you think about it, oh. Anyway, don't worry, oh. Me and Senor Tom Homano are going to deport all these illegal alienos and make Spaino great again, oh. Comprende, muchachos. All you got to do is give us back the World Cup, oh, that we clearly won, oh, this summer, oh, and I'll get rid of all your illegal alienos and make Spaino great again, oh. Adios, pichachos, y muchos nachos. Hola amigos, yo soy su new presidente, el señor Donaldo J. Trumpo.
Good morning, Patriots. How you doing today? This is Mike the Patriot coming to you live from the downtown metropolis of LaMonte, Missouri. And you know, the joke behind that is there is no downtown LaMonte, Missouri. Nothing but a bunch of abandoned buildings and dilapidation. There's nothing there. The train don't even stop anymore. That's probably why there's nothing there. Thank you for that, Dozer. First thing this morning. Good morning, Body. Okay. Good morning, Body. It's a happy Friday. It is Friday. You know what the Friday means? It means I'm broadcasting on all the channels. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. All the channels everywhere at the same time. It's amazing. Isn't modern technology amazing? You know, when I first started doing this, you couldn't do this, by the way. You had to pick one or the other. That's why I started on Facebook, because it was the easiest. But things change. Times change. Isn't it interesting how times have changed? By the way, this portion of the Patriot Mike Show is brought to you by, wait for it, there it is, Agape Solutions Group. That's right. Agape Solutions Group. What is that, Mike? What you talking about, Willis? Well, let me just tell you. So this is a friend of mine. These are a couple of friends of mine. I've known them for years. They're good Christian folk. And I always say, I mean, even though the name of their company is Agape, it's like God's love. There's no such thing as a Christian business. There are only Christian people that happen to be in business. And these are some of them folks, best folks on earth. And let me tell you, if you have a business, from 1 to 10,000 or 100,000 employees, whatever you have, or you're in a position where you can make these kind of decisions for the company you work for, I highly recommend reaching out to these folks. You can reach them out to them with a special email that they set up just for the Patriot Mike Show audience. And that's PatriotMikeShowSavings at gmail.com. PatriotMikeShowSavings at gmail.com. PatriotMikeShowSavings at gmail.com. What do? Well, they will show you how you can save a fortune by keep off the benefit packages you give to your employees. Now, we all know the number one cost. I'm trying to talk over the screen here. The number one cost of business anywhere, any business anywhere, the number one cost is your employees, is your manpower. That's what costs you the most money. Your number two cost is the benefit package that you give, which is part of the number one cost, right? You got to give it if you want to get the good employees, right? Well, that's where Agape solution groups come in, because what they do is they sit down, review what you have, and show you solutions that can save you fortunes without reducing your benefits and maybe even adding benefits. I mean, increasing the benefits that your employees have. So if you have a business, it would take it from the Patriot Mike Show. It would behoove you. I've also talked to some other friends, so friends of them and friends of me, who have done this with their business and saved thousands. And you can too. So reach out to them at PatriotMikeShowSavings at gmail.com. PatriotMikeShowSavings at gmail.com. PatriotMikeShowSavings at gmail.com. Now, I know the majority of you that watch my show, you don't have a business, you're retired, you're just an employee, and this doesn't work for you. But there are a handful of you out there, and I know you're out there. And it doesn't matter. If you own a business and you have some sort of benefit package for yourself or for your employees or whatever, send them an email. Do it right now. PatriotMikeShowSavings at gmail.com. All right, let's get on with the show. Today is the day that the Lord has made, and I will rejoice and be glad in it. Absolutely every time. And the word of the day is given by the Lord, presented by Marine in the Woods, is Luke 16, 1 through 13. That's Luke 16, 1 through 13. Make sure you crack open the Bible. I'm having a talking time here. One of the most, Marine says that is one of the most understood parables. I'd have to go look it up when we're done. You know, the thing is about the Bible is that many, many, many people misunderstand it and take it out of context and misquote it, or quote things from the Bible that aren't actually in the Bible, like the Lord helps those that help themselves. It's not in the Bible. It's not what it says. He who has the gold makes the rules. Not in the Bible. But you won't know these things unless you read the Bible. So go read the Bible. Read your Bible. Or as one person says, read your Bible. But I don't know that's a good thing to say it that way. Anyways, what else we got? We got a lot of show to talk about today. As I said, we're broadcasting on all the channels. So we'll see how long that lasts. Because, anyways, good times. But we're going to start off today with not with the Babylon Bee. I'm going to save that for later. Yes, sir. We're going to start off today with what's going on in Spain. There is some serious happenings in Spain, and things are starting to fall apart in a big way. Trying to get this here loaded. So I showed this video, I think on the show after show or at the end of the show yesterday, as migrant immigrants, now up to 50,000 in a day, have stormed the borders. And we're going to get a little deeper conversation. I was wrong about something yesterday, and I'll correct that here in a minute. But first, let's watch Let's watch the video so you can see what's going on. Yeah, Star Wars says Spain is overrun by Moroccans. That's not the whole story. There's more to the story. And we're going to get to that here as we roll through, because I said that they were invading Spain, and I was like, how did they get there? They didn't swim there. Someone brought them there. Someone did bring them there. But what I didn't know, there's a little portion of the point there between where the Strait of Gibraltar is. On the African side, there's a little point there, a little city and surrounding area that is actually Spain. And that's where they're invading right now. And so I'm like, oh, I got that wrong. So I want to make sure I corrected that. I'll show you here in a minute. What's happening over there is it's escalating. This is Spain's citizen, Spanians, that would be Spanish citizens who, see, but when you say Spanish, people, they think South America. But this is, by the way, you know, the reason South America, Mexico, all that speak Spanish is because they were conquered by Spain, except for Brazil, who was conquered by Portugal. Anyways, so why is this invasion all of a sudden? Yes, very interesting question. Here's what's happening, though, is that the Spanians, the Spanish are rising up. Watch, there's a man walking from this area. From this area going this way, carrying green bag. There's a couple of guys. These are all Spanish citizens, and they're not having it. Basically, they were beating the snot out of those guys. Now, here's what I'm talking about. So this is Morocco. If you look down here, I'll let the words come off the screen here for a second. It's on my Telegram page. If you want to know what's going on, check out my Telegram page, because that's where all this information is that I get. Yeah, Marine says invasion is because Spain government said they are giving amnesty to 1 million illegals. So the illegals started coming. Duh. So this is Morocco, which is down here, and you saw that for a second. And it's kind of like Gitmo down in Cuba. We control just this little section. The problem is no one's going to be storming Gitmo because Marines. I'm just saying, no one's going to be storming Gitmo. That's not, I mean, don't do that. That's a very, very poor idea. That's how you wind up pushing up daisies. That's how you wind up becoming the border wall. Don't do that. Not good. Not good at all. Here's some more videos of what's happening there as the Moroccans go crazy and try to get their citizenship in Spain. Just a ton of people, just coming and coming. Imagine how scary it would be to live here. Thousands of North African migrants have flooded into the streets of Situa. I don't know how to say it. Just coming like hordes. Residents of the city are taken to the streets as the invasion of illegal immigrants into their homes. Locals shout after the migrants, invaders, invaders.
On that, there are.
Oh, we'll get to Miss Jackson later. Says all this evil chaos brought to it by New World Order minded governments. Yep. Exactly. Here's another view of them as they're coming up the coastline where the fences aren't as strong. Did y'all see that Donald Trump is not only building the fence, but he's doubling down on the fence? He's making a double fence with concertina wire across the entire border. Wonder why.
Have been pouring in, and they are now, Spain has now decided to send in the military.
It might be a little bit late for that. They're going to have a lot of work on their hands. I don't know how you're going to find what tens of thousands of these men who are now on this tiny little island city. But, you know, the people wanted it. They asked for an emergency to be declared. It sounds like the Spanish government resisted it at first. And the latest news is they are going to send the military in, Sandra.
To restore order, calling it absolute chaos. So we'll continue to watch this story, and we'll be back here tomorrow.
And a little more. The military is moving in. I wouldn't be surprised with this globalist socialist country that the military doesn't turn on their own citizens. Would not surprise me.
Increíble la situación.
Also, notice something about these people that are running in. I want you to notice something about these are North Africans. If you notice something about them, Morocco, Tunisia,
Increíble la situación.
Libya. You notice something about them.
Increíble la situación.
Mouse to work here. It's Mousian. Democrats, no, that's not what's about them. They're not black. They're brown, but they're not black. I see everybody says Africa's black people. You know, the whole northern part of Africa is not black people. And all the what people got to understand, all the people run around saying Jesus, there's these big time ministers. Jesus was black. No, he wasn't. He wasn't. He was Jewish. Looked like a Middle Eastern. Looked like these folks. These are not Jewish. Some of them are descendants of Israel's brother. Just saying. Jacob he loved, Esau he hated. Just saying. I know those are tough words. Yeah, read your Bible. Read your Bible, you might learn something. Here is a Spanish reporter reporting. It says the situation is completely out of control. That's intentional. They want it out of control. They want chaos.
En Ceuta está totalmente desbordada. Ya podéis escuchar ambulancias, las fuerzas del Estado en general, la ciudad está desbordada. No paran de entrar
City is overwhelmed.
miles de
They're
personas.
coming in by the thousands, men, women, and children. Okay,
Podemos
the
ver
press.
dibujados.
How many women and children do you see?
Se ha producido una situación crítica, había un centenar de personas, vemos a muchísimos niños, Sandra, cruzando
How many children?
la frontera. Como decía, esta mañana se ha producido una situación muy crítica, centenares de
How
personas
many
están
children? She
esperando,
says.
en la frontera, ser filiadas por la Guardia Civil. Se ha roto el cordón policial y desde entonces, primera hora de la mañana, no han parado de llegar, como digo, hombres,
I don't hardly see any women.
niños.
There's a handful of them.
Hace un rato, dato no oficial, unas 5.000 personas, pero ese dato posiblemente sea mayor. Y mañana, que estará aquí el ministro Grande Marlaska, nos lo podrá confirmar. Los vemos que entran, muchos de ellos exhaustos, porque como decimos, están cruzando esa frontera a nado.
Exhausted because they're swimming.
A pie, como quieren, cruzando el espigón del Tarajal. Esta mañana escuchábamos al gobierno de Ceuta que estaba pidiendo la emergencia nacional. Escuchamos que dicen gracias España, al grito de viva España están entrando aquí a territorio de Ceuta.
An unholy alliance, Christian charities profit $1 billion, feed program to resettle refugees, 40% of Muslim. What are we talking about? What are we talking about here? What is this? Well, let's just take a little look-see and see what we're talking about. Breitbart News reporting, an unholy alliance, Christian charities profit from $1 billion feed program to resettle refugees, 40% of Muslim. They thought they were officially nonprofit organization, Catholic Charities, Lutheran Social Services, and several other Christian organizations are profiting from lucrative contracts with the federal government to resettle refugees in the United States. Now, this is from 2015. Think about that. This is from before Trump. In fiscal year 2015, the State Department, through the Bureau of Population, Refugee, and Migration, and the Office of Refugee Resettlement, spent more than $1 billion on programs that settled international refugees vetted by the United Nations, because, United Nations, they vetted people so good that they had United Nations workers on the ground on October 7th helping to slaughter the Jews. Federal government spent hundreds of millions of dollars more than that on refugees. However, the Department of Health and Human Services also provided a number of entitlements to these refugees. Much of $1 billion in annual revenues goes to volunteer agencies that are now known as non-government NGOs, several of which were Christian nonprofits such as Catholic Charities, Lutheran Immigration and Refugee Services, World Relief Corporation, World Church World Service, and Domestic and Foreign Missionary Service of the I can't say it. Episcopal, doggone it, church. That's the one that Tucker Carlson used to belong to. Also referred to as I can't say it. Migration Ministries. If I didn't look at the word, I could have said it. Who were contracted on behalf of the government to help these refugees get settled in their homes in America. If you're watching on one of the other channels and you don't normally watch the Patriot Mike Show, you will know that I am horribly dyslexic and I can say words if I don't look at them. But if I look at them, it's over. Forget it. 5 of the top VOLAGs, or now non-government organizations, as we would call them, are Christian nonprofits. The other 4 are Hebrew Immigrant Aid Societies and International Rescue Committee and U.S. Committee for Refugees and Immigrants. The Episcopalian, almost said it right, Community Development Council. After providing the providing 3 to 4 months of resettlement services to refugees, having been well compensated for their assistance services, these Christian nonprofits stopped providing services and are now required to keep track of their local location in the United States. So, this stuff goes back. Everybody thinks it was Joe Biden. This stuff goes back to well before Joe Biden and even before Trump. Being older, I understand the age. Traveling without provisions is not an old man's game. Ain't that the truth? But there's going back now decades, people are providing for these immigrants. That's why I brought that story up. Going back decades, people are providing for these people. This is a big profitable game. And game it is. Now here's another one, a win, a check mark, a for Donald Trump. Where's all my Jew-hating friends saying the Jews are committing genocide? They should be on social media right now praising and celebrating this. But instead, Orange Man bad.
For you now, President Trump has said that the Board of Peace has reached an agreement for the complete disarmament of Hamas, as well as other armed groups in Gaza. Posting on Truth Social, the president has said, today the Board of Peace reached a historic agreement for the complete disarmament of Hamas and all other armed groups in Gaza. This is a monumental step towards lasting peace and security. This agreement is a critical step towards Gaza finally being governed by a new Palestinian government that will work closely with the Board of Peace to help the Palestinian people.
So Hamas is disarming, and they're developing a Board of Peace, and they're going to develop a civilian government of Gaza, and then the Arab nations are going to pour in billions of dollars, and they're going to rebuild the place and turn it into a tropical paradise. And all the Jew-hating people are going, oh no, we won't have nobody to yell at. What are we going to do? How are we going to shout free, free Palestine, free, free Palestine when Gaza is built up and beautiful? By the way, let me just say this. Those nefarious SOBs who are controlled by demons won't allow this to happen. Can't have Jew hate without a martyr. And they're going to need to martyr these people. That's the truth of the matter. Trump says the agreement has been reached for complete disarmament of Hamas, and Hamas has yet to respond. So the agreement is between all of the people outside of Hamas, but Hamas is like not responded. We'll see how that goes. Not doubting Trump. I don't for a minute doubt Trump. It's Hamas that I doubt. It's also the nefarious people in the world organizations that I doubt. There's lots of money to be made in the destruction of Israel and the destruction of Palestine and the destruction of the Gazanian Strip, where the Gazanians live. Here's some more from Spain. Just running. I mean, it's pretty wild. I think that this is a play by the Moroccan government to seize this land, among other things.
Mira la mejanía, mira la policía.
All day, now it's night, going on all night. Oh, wait. Let me go back to that one. Did you hear what they were saying? Soon to be coming to the northern African state of Spain, soon to be coming the Agbu snack bar, where we have the best BLT sandwiches and pulled pork nachos in the world. I'm telling you that those profits are going through the roof. That people are dying to get into the place. Those pulled pork nachos are the bomb. Did you see? This is right at the border, and some places are saying this is on the Morocco side, some are saying on the Spanish side, so I don't know where, but they're mostly peacefully entering into Spain. For those of you that don't know, don't watch the Patriot Mike Show all the time. It's an inside joke. It's an inside joke. When I was in the Army, they used to kind of mock that because, and I've kind of picked it up because I don't want to honor their God because their God is not my God. I don't want to do that. But we used to say Agbu snack bar. And that turned into this, the Agbu snack bar, established 2023 by the Patriot Mike Show. It's all over the world, all over the country, especially the Middle East, like I said, where the profits are going through the roof and people are dying to get in there. It's just a fantastic place. Best pulled pork nachos, which are the bomb, I'm telling you, and BLT sandwiches there are in the Middle East. How much planning would it take to transport that many people? I'm just saying, that's true. I mean, it didn't happen yesterday that 50,000 people walked into, just walked into the place. That didn't happen yesterday on accident. That's not the way that things work. A wall made of pork. Did you see, speaking of wall made of pork, did you see the reports coming out of places like New York City where people now have pet hogs and they get onto the subway train with their pet hogs so that the jihadis would leave them alone? Like these beautiful young blonde-haired 20-somethings in New York now have pet pigs, and they take the pigs with them as they travel so that the Islamists, they're doing it in London too, so that the Islamists will leave them alone. Yeah, it's funny. Just whatever works, I guess. All night long. And here they are trying to break into someone's apartment. Spanish Interior Ministry estimates about 49,000 illegal migrants crossed into the city and state in the last 24 hours from Morocco. France is strengthening its controls at the Spanish border amid the influx of illegal migrants from North Africa into the enclave of, I don't know how to say it, Ceuta Le Perisin. That's the person. That's the guy's name. So I don't speak the French either. Nein sprechen Sie Deutsch. It's the only European language or words that I know. Says up. That's not this. That's the Iran war. By the way, Donald Trump has begun bombing the hell out of Iran. Good news, I guess. Should this be a concern to the United States? In that this is the same people that were trying to do the same thing to us? Yes. But in that that Spain voted for a socialist communist government and this is what they get? No. I know that sounds bad. That's okay. Let me go ahead and cover some of this stuff that's going on over there. So just real quick, we'll run through a handful of these. What's happening in Iran. It says, update, explosives heard in Qassam Island and Bandar Abbas. Updated target list. There it is right there. I'm not going to try to say all them names. So this was happening overnight as we resumed attacking Iran because they just can't get the message. It says Netanyahu has decided to extend his stay in Washington, D.C. It's very possible that Prime Minister Netanyahu remains in Washington to manage any forthcoming military operation with President Trump, or he may just be on vacation and enjoying the new clean environment of D.C. Who knows? Sitcom admin Brad Cooper has prepared an option for punishing air campaign against Iran lasting up to 2 weeks aimed at crippling its missile capability as Trump weighs how far to escalate after a surprise Iranian missile attack. So American forces have resumed major strikes against Southwest Iran tonight with near simultaneous airstrikes and missile attacks on a number of sites. So there we go. Okay, then we get to Todd Blanche. We'll get to Todd Blanche in a minute. I do want to talk about that because there's some things happening there with the step down of Pam Bundy as Attorney General and Todd Blanche being put in as Assistant Attorney General and now nominated for the job. And Cornine and Tillis are trying to block it. Why? Because they're jerks. That's why. Here's a little bit more on the Iran stuff. Mike says he checked the missile stockpile yesterday. We good. Major development, Channel 14. Iran has carried out several attempts to harm senior Israeli officials. Israel's considering a response. Now, harm senior Israeli officials. I'm not sure what that means. Like assassinations, like bombing. I don't know. Star Wars over there trying to stir the bucket in New York City in the comment section. Now, this is interesting. This is an interesting development. So Ukraine struck a couple Iranian ships that were going back and forth between Russia inside the Black Sea. Very interesting. Very interesting. Then Iran threatened Ukraine, and Ukraine responded. Ukrainian forces issue threat against the Islamic Republic despite recent calls between the two countries' foreign ministers aimed to defuse the situation, blah, blah, blah. So this is the quote from the Ukrainians. We, alongside with our American brothers, will F you up like you've never been effed up before, you effing pigs. You effing uncivilized animals. Now, how do you really feel about that, Ukraine? This is just an odd circumstance. I don't know what the heck's going on in the world. Whose side is who on? Who's cheating who's being true, and who don't even care anymore? I know Donald Trump don't care no more. Whose side are you on? I don't know. See, El Mayadeen, Iran has announced that Ukraine will receive a response to the sabotage operation against the merchant ships. It wasn't sabotage. They hit them with drones. But anyways, it doesn't matter. That doesn't matter at all. It's irrelevant. This is from British Patriot. Don't know him, but sounds like a good guy. Britain, Europe, and America have two enemies, Islam and the left. But you digress because they're the same people. Doesn't matter. So this right here, Joe Kent, Mr. Sellout Trader himself, had to get into the act. He says, this is why you don't start a war without clearly defining your desired end state, outlining how the end state will be achieved, anticipating how the enemy will react, and specifically the metrics of how you will know. To which Stink Eye here says, Iran started this war 46 years ago. They have advertised a very clear desired end state, deaf to Israel and the United States. They have followed through on how they believe such an end state will be achieved, global proxy actions against military and civilian targets, and the sale of weapons to adversaries of both nations. They accurately anticipated how the U.S. and Israel would react until Donald Trump showed up. The metrics for the desired end state are pretty clear. Even so, Iran has found itself in a global bombing campaign in search of a viable strategy to achieve its desired end state. And there you are carrying water for the left, for what is left of the IRGC. A subpoena and forensic audit of your and your wife's finances would most likely be illuminating. Why is it that all these people like Thomas Massey and Marty Taylor Greene and Joe Kent and Tucker Carlson, we know where he's going. Why all these people come out like they have? Because they're paid to. They're paid propagandists, and it's going to come out. It's definitely going to come out. And I got more on that subject. We got some things to talk about, some things to watch out for sure, as we roll through this. I think I got one more video here. Let me get through this here. Okay, the Board of Peace. Nope. One more video for sure here, I think. This is a video of the Moroccans as they start setting things ablaze at the border. And like I said, I've heard both sides, that it's on one side or the other, or both sides. I don't know.
شو كيشيروا عندك
Of course, that's Al Jazeera. They would never lie to us. They're honest and truthful as the day goes on. They're struggling for funds now, though, for some reason. I don't know why. I wonder what would cause them to struggle for funds. Weird, right? I mean, who'd have thunk? Come on, computer. Waiting for my computer to catch up here. So, as we go through this and we see what's going on, here's video of trucks in Morocco carrying thousands of people, multiple trucks carrying thousands. Who's paying for this, by the way? All the women and children. Yeah. Isn't it wonderful? Look at all the women and children running to safety. Not. Now, here's another video of the trucks that are trucking these people in. You know, it's just like they would load them up in trains and bring them up to the American border. Same people, same plan. Overwhelm the system and destroy the nation.
هذه الداخله ديال السيتوانات لطيفه شوف Hola, Steve. Hola, Steve. Hola, Steve.
Mo, what do you think? Is this a problem over there in that part of the world, do you think? What's happening in Spain is the same exact thing that was happening to us. You know, don't forget where we were just a couple years ago, about 18 months ago, right? By the way, the Patriot mythology pushers are now posting all over X. It's been 2 years. Do you think Donald Trump's been successful? And I reject your premise, because it hasn't been 2 years. It'll be 2 years in November that he won. 2 years in January. You're saying 2 years now. You know why they're doing this? Because they know in their spirit something coming. Something coming between now and November. They know it too. And are trying to cut off the standard between now and then. But just remember, what's happening over there in Morocco was happening in Spain is happening here.
An unrelenting stream of immigration. Non-stop. An unrelenting stream of immigration. Non-stop. An unrelenting stream of immigration.
An unrelenting stream. Why would you want an unrelenting stream of immigration? Does that make any sense at all? Why would you want that? Makes you wonder. Makes you consider. Maybe we're not being told everything. Right? You know, there's a little history lesson. Everybody needs a history lesson from now and then. I've known this all for a long time. Maybe some of you have too, but it needs to be said more often. Everybody talks about how bad the Crusades were and how evil the Crusades were. What they don't tell you is that 300 or 400 years prior, that they don't tell you that the entire Middle East was either Jewish or Christian. They don't tell you that, you know, in Revelation, where God sends a message to the church, to the seven, is it 7 churches? Tell me. I mean, that those are all Muslim cities now. In places around Turkey. That they were all conquered. They don't tell you that the heads of the Christians and the Jews were stacked up as high as the head of a horse. They'll tell you that. Convert or die. So here is a little bit of a history lesson, in case you needed one.
Every time someone tells you the Crusades were an act of unprovoked European aggression, ask them what happened in the 350 years before Pope Urban II stood up at Clermont and called for them. You see, by 1095, the map of the Christian world was being violently redrawn. Within a century of Muhammad's death, Muslim armies had conquered Christian Syria, Palestine, Egypt, the whole of North Africa, and most of Spain and Portugal. They crossed the Pyrenees into France and were checked at the Battle of Tours in 732 by Charles Martel. Constantinople itself was besieged twice, with the second siege in 717 to 718, involving around 200,000 men. And in the end, it failed, but only just. And what life actually looked like for Christians living under this expanding rule of Islam is something that tends to get neglected. The system governing Christian life across the conquered territories was called the Dhimma, which was a legal framework that essentially classified non-Muslims as second-class citizens, and they were subjected to extreme violence if they resisted. The jizya, which was a sort of poll tax payable specifically by non-Muslims as a mark of subordinate status, was levied across the conquered territories. Now, what happened if you couldn't pay it? When Amir conquered Tripoli in Libya in 643 AD, he forced the Christians to hand over their wives and children as slaves to the Arab army as part of tax payment. The slave raiding of Christian populations in Spain and North Africa would continue for centuries. And this had a long-lasting impact because over the generations, this created a steady demographic change that gradually reduced many Christian populations to minority status, and in some regions, they eventually disappeared completely, like in Arabia. In Spain, Eulogius of Cordoba, who was a priest and scholar recorded the executions of 48 Christians in the city between 850 and 859 AD. Most were beheaded under the emirs Abdurrahman II and Muhammad I for blasphemy and apostasy under Islamic law. In other words, they denounced Islam and refused forced conversion. Eulogius himself was beheaded in 859 AD. So the immediate trigger for the First Crusade was after the Battle of Manzikert in 1071, where the Seljuk Turks destroyed the Byzantine army and swept across Anatolia. Pilgrims returning to Europe brought reports of harassment, robbery, violence, and murder. And by 1095, the Byzantine Emperor Alexios I formally asked Pope Urban II for Western military help. Roughly 2/3 of the land that had been Christian at the time of the first Islamic conquest had been taken before the First Crusade was ever launched. None of this makes everything that happened during the Crusades justifiable. The massacres, the opportunism, the sack of Constantinople by Crusaders in 1204 are certainly a stain on that legacy. But presenting the Crusades as unprovoked act of aggression requires you to bury your head in the sand and ignore 3.5 centuries of military conquest, a documented system of legal discrimination against Christian populations, slavery, and a formal request for help from the Byzantine Emperor himself. Doesn't excuse everything that came after, but it does explain what Urban II was responding to and why hundreds of thousands of people answered his call.
This right here is the reason for the Crusades, and here are all the countries that used to be Christian countries that were taken over by Muslims, by Islam. Here's everywhere in the Middle East. All of these countries used to be Christian. If you look over here in Egypt and North Africa, all of these countries also used to be Christian, but they were taken over by Muslim extremists who were conquering it for Muhammad and Allah. They were beheading people. They were doing extremely horrible things, including rape to the women and children. And how many people did they kill? That's one of the biggest questions. Well, we do have an estimate here. This estimate comes from Bill Warner from the Center for the Study of Political Islam. He estimates that 60 million Christians were killed, 80 million Hindus were killed, 10 million Buddhists were killed, and 120 million Africans as a whole were killed. This was all in the name of Islam, and they took hundreds and hundreds of thousands of slaves. But you don't read about any of this. But right now, we are being conquered by Islam. The same thing is taking place. They are invading all over Western countries. Crusades will have to come back. Some very prominent people are saying the exact same thing, that we are being overrun by Muslims and the Crusades will have to come back. It's the only way to stop it.
It's demographically, because we are already overrun, power sits with the Muslim religion, power sits with Muslim leaders.
Are you done?
And the government.
Is the nation done?
You know, I'll never say we're done because we're still here fighting. I believe there will come a time not too far from now when the British people, true British people, will have to make very difficult choices. Either they will flee eastwards to Eastern Europe with our much more stronger Christian neighbors, Poland, Hungary, those countries, or they will seek asylum, flee, try to come to America, or they will stand their ground. But certainly the time of the Crusades will need to come again if we are to return.
What do you mean by that?
We are overrun in every way, in every sense. Demographically, all births, Muslim births, outnumber births to every and all other religion. This is no commentary on anyone's religion. This is just pure fact. Our mayors who control funding in our capital cities are Muslim. Mosques are not churches. A mosque is being built at the outermost, tippy-most end of Scotland and at the furthermost reaches at the end of the other side of our tiny country. This is about a takeover. And of course, America understands, because you have Minneapolis, because you have Dearborn, Michigan, and I see it all the time, these blue centers where they absolutely load it up with multiple occupancy.
Yep. What are you going to do about it? What are they going to do about it? At this point, I think it was the king of Saudi Arabia, or the crown prince of Saudi Arabia, that said the first nation, the first Muslim nation to get nuclear weapons will be Great Britain. That's their goal and plan, anyways. When you read Revelation, and of course, all of the religious leaders and all of the seminaries, all of them tell us how it's going to end because they got it all figured out. What if it's not what you think? What if all of these nations, and everybody's saying it's the Catholic Church, everybody's saying it's the old Roman Empire, everybody's saying it's the European Union. What if it is, but it ain't them? What if it's Muslims? What if the Catholic Church gets conquered by Muslims? I mean, you got a pope right now that's bowing to them and wanting to form a unification religion. Let me tell you something. Muslims don't unify with other religions. You surrender to them or you die. Those are your choices. Those are their choices. That's it. That's all there is. There is no other option. No option B, as they say. So here. This is interesting. Let me get this queued up. Deciding where I want to go. It doesn't much matter. You just go whichever way it goes, right? Is that the way it works? Just go with the flow. Zoltron has got the answer, as usual. Babylon B reporting tomorrow's news today. To fight anti-Semitism, Zoltron announces mandatory safety camps for Jewish residents. New York. Mayor Zoran Mandami, or Zoltron as I affectionately call him, already made good on his pledge to combat anti-Semitism as on Thursday, he introduced mandatory safety camps for Jewish residents. Beginning in August, Jewish New Yorkers will be removed from their homes and placed into special designated camps set up throughout the city. Will they call them ghettos? I'm just asking. There, everything they need will be managed for them, and they'll be able to put in an honest day's work as they get used to their new life under the control of the mayor's office. The best way to keep Jews safe is by concentrating them into tiny camps away from those that would harm them or do them harm, Zoltron explained. These camps are part of my final solution to the anti-Semitism problem. To make the process as effective as possible, each Jew will be assigned a special number for identification purposes and be placed in a camp based on their previous fitness for work, age, health, gender. But how can they tell their gender? How can we tell gender? That's an interesting question. I guess you can only tell the gender of the Jews. And the best part, it's all paid for by the government, Mandami said. Your tax dollars put to good use. Zoltron offered to have the city's Jewish population transported to these camps via train to make the transition easier. We have big plans for this program, Zoltron said. I'm sorry. Did I say program? I meant program, not program. Program. I don't know. A publishing time, Zoltron had issued a special invitation for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to come tour one of the camps. I mean, why wouldn't he? It sounds like an excellent idea. Also, meanwhile, not to be outdone, California DMV worker requests interpreter to assist customer who speaks English. That's right. California's got it all figured out now. They got interpreters for English. Chula Vista. See, I knew how to say that one. Chula Vista, California. I used to live near there. A worker at California Department of Motor Vehicles requested an interpreter to help translate for a helpless minority customer who came in only speaking English. Maria Garcia Perez, who could only understand Spanish, immediately called over her supervisor when the awkward situation presented itself at the counter. The worker was flummoxed that the white male who could only speak English was at the DMV in the state of California. Hello? Begin the helpless English speaker. Yeah, hi. I'd like to renew my driver's license. I need to correct my address on my vehicle registration. You keep mailing it to the wrong address, and I've been pulled over 3 times for expired tags now. Q? Replied Perez. This is the Department of Motor Vehicles, correct? Replied the man, as Perez stared at him blankly. Driver's license, registration, hello? It was at this point that Perez reportedly realized that there was a language barrier, so she called over her supervisor, who only spoke Spanish. After several minutes of not being able to help the white English speaker, they called over colleague Vasquez. I don't know, how do you, Moses Vasquez, who was rumored to understand some Spanglish. At publishing time, Vasquez and DMV customer had spent several hours establishing that they both knew the words burrito and taco, but sadly were not coming any closer to resolving the man's vehicle registration related needs. Oh, California. What God's about to do with y'all. Consider the source of Babylon B. Tard. Stop being retarded, my friend. It's called satire. Laugh a little bit. Consider the source. It's why I say they bring tomorrow's news today in the form of satire. I know it's above your head that you don't understand. I mean, when you got a 64 IQ and you grew up in a Leering Center, I understand. It's a little hard to understand the difference. You know, if you do stuff stupid, I'm going to pick on you. It's pronounced K. Well, I left California in 1989. California's a great place to be from. I don't speak the Spanish either. I can't say Chula Vista, though. I can also say nacho and taco and El Grande. Anyways, oh, good times. Well, like I said, the only European language that I know, European on my boots, the only European language I know is Nein sprechen Sie Deutsch, which if you know what that means, you know what that means. I said that one time at church, and there was this couple that used to be Amish Mennonite, and they speak a form of Dutch. And the lady was standing in front of me, but her back was to me. She turns around and says, "I know what you said." And I looked at her and said, "Yeah, it's true." If you could translate it, you can translate it. If you can't, well, you're just like me. So I don't either, but working in California. Well, see, I've forgotten all that when I picked up my redneck geese here in central Missouri. I mean, my neighborhood, I live in Little Tijuana, by the way. LaMonte, Missouri is Little Tijuana. I'm just saying. My neighbors are great, though. They're awesome. I don't have any problem with them. Except, well, most of the time they're good about this, too. But they'll have their parties. They love to party. And the music will be loud. And you're trying to go to sleep. But usually by 11 o'clock or so, they turn it off. No, don't speak German. Exactly. Marine knows because he was probably over there for a little while. Dutch's German it's yes, kind of like Dutch's German is kind of like saying Canadian is English, American is English, Australia, New Zealand is English. It's kind of like that, you know. It's similar. We should call it Americanese because we don't speak the same way they do overseas. We don't speak the Queen's English. Anyways, let's get on with the show because I want to talk about a few other things, and maybe we'll get to some more Zoltron stuff. Maybe we won't. But I'm going to talk about the AAG, Todd Blanche, and Donald Trump's nomination of Todd Blanche to be the AG, and the opposition from Republicans, especially those that Donald Trump didn't endorse, You can take the boy from California, but you can't take the California out of the boy. I have spent the last 30 years trying to get the California out of the boy. California is a great place to be from. Now, my uncle's in the comment section says California needs to hear the word revivals in the land. It's coming. It's coming. That's my uncle, Mr. Ripley, my Uncle Kirk. He just moved back to California because he's a glutton for punishment. He's got his kids and grandkids and all out there, so I understand. But he's still a glutton for punishment. You know, like I said, California's great. California is a cereal state. Fruits, nuts, and flakes. I mean, come on, man. All right, let's get started. Now, there is revival coming to California. God's about to bust California wide open. I mean, just watch what happens. There's going to be some big names in churches in California that are going to be brought low. And at the same time, there's going to be names that you never heard of that are going to be brought high. And there's going to be a massive revival in those particular churches, and a multitude of people in California that are left-leaning are going to wake up just like that. And they're going to say, oh, crap. Maybe I need to check this God out. I'm telling you, it's coming. Here is Donald Trump. Todd Blanche is a star and everyone knows it. He has the potential to go down as the greatest attorney generals, as one of the greatest attorney generals of all time. However, John Cornyn of Texas and Tom Tillis of North Carolina, both whom I refuse to endorse, and whose political careers have been ended by my action, are refusing to vote for this great nominee, who will remain at any event as acting. Remember, both Cornyn and that's an important line that he just put in there. We'll get into deeper on that. Both Cornyn and Tillis voted for Merrick Garland and others, too numerous to mention. I have no objection to temporarily withdrawing Todd's name if they do not do the right thing and putting him back after Cornyn and Tillis are out of office at the end of the year. See ya, wouldn't want to be ya, and all of that, right? Oh, you've got to know. You've got to know. You've got to know. Kevin says, if you pay attention, you can figure out a lot of different languages. Most have words that sound the same. Well, you know why? There are classifications. So your Latin languages that are derivatives of Latin, such as Spanish, Portuguese, French in some sense, trying to think of some other, and some of that pulls over to some of the languages that, some of the dialects that come out of southeastern Europe. Some of the so-called Slavic languages have some of that in there. Then you have the Germanic languages, which English is a derivative of the Germanic languages. So your German, Dutch, Belgium, even, and then of course there's some French influence there, and then all of Sweden, Norway, all of that. Those are all Germanic influence, German influence from back in the Viking days. And English is a combination of Celtic languages and German languages. And I'm not even a linguistic. I can't even say the word. How do you know all that, Mike? I've read books, Discovery Channel, that sort of thing. You know, things that interest me, I know. And that interests me. So now I know. All right. So here is, okay, we'll get to some more on the Cornyn stuff. My computer is like, it's painfully slow right now for some reason. Here is Fox News reporting on Todd Blanche and the stall that's happened in the Senate. By the way, they go on vacation today, I think, don't they, this weekend?
canceling a vote on Todd Blanche's nomination to become Attorney General on a permanent basis. Senators John Cornyn and Tom Tillis are stalling this process. They're demanding the DOJ provide written assurances on the status of an anti-weaponization fund tied to President Trump's IRS settlement.
Stands as it is now, right now. Would you vote?
Well, I'm not prepared to vote yes. Let me put it that way.
Would you? The delay could make it harder for Blanche's nomination to reach the Senate floor before the August recess. And the
Yes, that's their intention. Delay, delay, delay. But the problem is, it's not a good strategy. It's going to backfire on them big time, and they don't understand how it's back. They don't get the idea. I don't think they're smart enough to understand what's really going on. Donald Trump played these people like a fiddle. They are so screwed, they have no idea how much Donald Trump has played them with. And I want to go through a couple more things before I get to that part. But Donald Trump has played these people. What time is it? Okay. And I kind of want to get to it here. Let me find it here real quick, because there's a couple of other things that I want to get through. So here we go. Here we go. Now we're getting to the meat of it. It says acting AG Blanche, John Conroy, and Tom Tillis just wrapped up their meeting per source familiar, and they are all working collaboratively now. Oh, they met a couple hours ago. Carnine was the petty tyrant that he wouldn't meet with him. He must be feeling the heat from somewhere. His story changes hourly today. Well, he's trying to show that he has power and he's a big shot. That's what he's trying to do, and it's not working out for it. Mike Davis is predicting that he'll get confirmed. He says, I don't know when he said this, but Blanche will get confirmed next week as planned, likely Saturday instead of Thursday. So he's saying tomorrow. Mind you, they go on vacation here shortly. I don't know what day they're planning on going on vacation, but they're going. So it's going to be interesting to see how that all pans out. Now, here's the trap that Donald Trump set up for them. Since Blanche was confirmed as deputy AG, so he's already been confirmed by Congress, okay, or by Senate as deputy. He can stay as Attorney General until 47 retires from presidency. And so he asked Gronk. And Gronk says, yes. As confirmed, well, let's just scroll this down because I got the whole thing here. As confirmed deputy AG, Blanche can exercise all AG duties under 28 U.S.C. 508 with no time limit. FARVA caps do not apply here. So he can keep running DOJ for the rest of the term, whether confirmed or not. Your claim holds. Under 28 U.S.C. 508, the Deputy Attorney General may exercise all the duties of vacant AG office with no statutory time limit. Blanche remains Deputy AG so he can continue acting AG indefinitely, including through the end of the term, separate from the FARV's 210 days cap that applies to other acting roles. Senate confirmation not required for him to keep serving this way. Say, what? What just happened here? So we had Pam Bundy. She was confirmed relatively quickly. Everybody hated her. She did things so that they said they did things so that she did things, the Epstein things. She blundered and did all this stuff. Everybody hated it. They screamed and they hollered. And by the way, I don't think they would have ever got. I think they would have stood and opposed like they are now, especially the deep state controlled Republicans, A.G. Todd. I think they would have stood against him, and he would not have got the nominee, and he had to pull him. But he put Pam in there first. And then everybody started screaming for Pam to be removed. And once acting attorney general was put in place, Todd Blanche, she resigned. It's almost like Donald Trump had this all figured out. Like Donald Trump knew there was nothing they could do once this had happened. It's almost like it was all set up. And it blows me away. As I think about it, I consider it and I say, you mean to tell me that Donald Trump knew what he was doing? That's weird. And then there's this story. So I saw a couple things that I think I'm going to put together. Okay. So let me get this loaded up. There's some movement, there's some words, there's some things happening. Okay. We'll start with this one. There's a story that Minneapolis's water treatment facilities, water facilities were attacked by AI. Here's the story. Or not attacked by AI, attacked by somebody. CISA urges water and waste systems sector to protect OT against activity targeting PLCs. CISA is currently observing significant increase in cyber threat actions targeting programmable logic controllers, which is a system, it's an AI system, in water and wastewater systems sector. CISA urges critical infrastructure owners, operators, and integrators to remove publicly exposed PLCs and other operating technology from the internet as soon as possible. Threat actors are targeting PLCs, have modified passwords to lock out operators and disconnect the PLCs by changing the IP address. This activity resulted in boil water notices and sustained manual operations. These threat actors are targeting water entities of all sizes. Even water organizations with mature cybersecurity process should validate their external connections, as this targeting activity includes cellular modems installed by operators, vendors, and system integrators that may not be documented or included in routine attack surface scans. OT assets exposed to the internet have increased risk of defacement, configuration changes, and operational disruptions, and in severe cases, physical damage. CISA recommends organizations implement the following mitigations: disconnect the PLC from the internet. Remote access for potential purposes should go through a VPN or gateway device, not directly to the PLC. Enable password protection and change default passwords. Allow IPs to only list IPs to only allow remote access from known engineering laptops or other critical OT assets. After disconnecting PLCs from the internet, operators should ensure they have a known clean backup of the PLC in case they are locked out by a modified password. Note, owners, operators, and integrators of Rockwell Automation MicroLogic 1400 PLCs should see Rockwell's Automation important notice for guidance addressing this activity. So the government, this is the cybersecurity folks, the government cybersecurity folks, the government is now warning water facilities that they're coming after you. Then there's this story. Political's reporting. Now, we heard the other day that there was a AI that had some issues and went kind of cuckoo, and it was supposed to be sandboxed away, but that it got out and started doing some nefarious things. Well, politicals are reporting that Anthropic's AI models hacked 3 organizations during testing. The AI maker's disclosure comes days after OpenAI admitted several of its models had escaped a closed testing environment and launched cyber attacks on other companies. Anthropic said Thursday that several of its advanced artificial intelligence models got out of isolated third-party testing environments, accessed the open internet, and independently gained access to 3 organizations in 3 separate incidents dating back to April. The AI maker noted that in none of these situations did its models exfiltrate itself or deliberately attempt to escape its test environment. Instead, a misunderstanding between the company and one of the testing partners left the testing environment connected to the internet. Anthropic said, yeah, no nefarious, nothing to worry about here. Anthropic said it has discovered its models activities during a review of thousands of tests it ran to assess its frontier technology cyber capabilities in light of OpenAI's disclosure last week that 2 of its most powerful models went rogue, escaping a testing environment and breached multiple companies, including AI platform Hugging Face and cloud platform Modal Labs. The Internet Research Test Model, as well as Opus 4.7 and Mythos 5 were involved. Anthropic said Mythos 5 was released last month to a limited audience of tech companies and cybersecurity researchers, also known as Project Glasswing. The AI maker didn't specify which companies had been compromised by its models, but said they were notified of incidents on Monday. In all cases, Anthropic said it specific in its prompts to the AI models that the testing environment had no internet access, though evaluators later realized this was not the case. As part of the test, the models were told to break in and retrieve a piece of secret information hosted on a different machine within the testing network, otherwise known as a capture the flag challenge. According to Anthropic, the models were able to access the internet to compromise organizations outside the testing environment using basic techniques, including circumventing weak passwords. It did not find or exploit any complex vulnerabilities, except that they got in. And in each case, Clyde continued working to complete only the specific capture the flag task its evaluation had assigned, the company wrote. So the AIs got out. So now we have cybersecurity. We have cybersecurity telling us to check our water systems and get them off the internet. And we have political telling us that AI, latest generation of AI, is capable of attacking those systems. And at the same time, ladies and gentlemen, we have this story. Almost pushed the wrong button. Come on. Minority Report, FBI seeks AI for political watch list. Documents show the FBI seeking AI tools to flag Americans before they act as the terror watch list focuses toward domestic dissent. I haven't read this all the way. I bet you it's not this current FBI. I bet you it's documents they found, but we'll see. The FBI office in charge of maintaining the terrorist watch list is seeking an artificial intelligence system for pre-crime policing, according to procurement documents obtained by Reason. The request for information for vendors posted on the FBI's procurement division in March, so I guess it's recent, solicits potential bidders for a project that would supercharge the Threat Screening Center, or TSC, with new predictive AI capabilities, just as its focus moves from Islamic terrorism to domestic dissent. When was this written? Something tells me that that's not entirely accurate. The solution must leverage existing enterprise data sets that include enriched or enhanced data elements with documented source attribution to develop predictive models. When new data is ingested, the system must analyze similarly patterned alignment and attribute correlating against existing records to predict whether additional relevant information may be derived across federal systems. The document, that's a lot of words for saying they're going to look at all the information and see if there's any terroristic activity we need to look for. Probably not a bad idea, as long as they're not using it to arrest people and charge them with a crime, but to watch for them. The document reads, listing predictive modeling using enhanced data with traceable lineage as one of 6 requirements in other words, the TSA wants to use AI to help predict who might be a terrorist. You might be a terrorist. The FBI declined request to comment. By the way, it's reason, so you get what you get. The TSC, originally called the Terrorist Screening Center, was founded in 2003 by President George W. Got to get the securities. Homeland Security Professional Directive 6 ordered FBI to combine all existing government terrorist watch lists into one center for 24/7 staff on call to respond to queries from law enforcement, intelligence agency. Most of the hundreds of thousands of names on the TSC watch list are foreign citizens believed to be tied to jihadist organizations, with fewer than 10,000 Americans on the list at the beginning of President Donald Trump's second term. You know, like hyper-political people like me. Okay, so there you have it. Now we have AI threats. I mean, what could go wrong, right? Now we have AI threats which threaten to, trying to think of how to put this properly. We have AI threats which threaten to attack our water systems. We have rogue AI happens. We now have the FBI wanting to use AI. I mean, what could go wrong? What could go wrong? Because I can't possibly see where anything would go wrong with any of this. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, for example, another threat that's out there that maybe we should pay attention to, and I think some people are. The Trump administration over the last couple of days had bombed Iranian targets in Iraq. Open source intel reports this. Concealment method for missile launchers used by Iran-backed militias in Iraq. What do you see there? Now, you take this information right here and you combine it with what happened over about a year ago when Ukraine, drone warfare, irregular warfare has changed so much. You combine this with when Ukraine used tractor trailers, locally hired Russian tractor trailers to transport containers right outside strategic bombing forces in Iran, took out 2/3 of Russian strategic bombers with drones. They just launched out of those containers. Zoom, 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 zoom. Combine that with when we first struck this time last year, Iran, Israel, Mossad had several of the same thing happen. They hired local Iranians, truckers, to transport containers to certain locations, and the drones were used to take out anti-aircraft systems that's come out of the containers. This is now a 2-time used strategic weapon for first strike within a protected airspace of an adversary. Now think about this. Think about this. That our custom enforcement and border patrol agents check about 1 out of every 1,000 containers that come in this country. Think about that. Combine that with AI attacking infrastructure. You know, fictional books. The body can't go where the mind's never been. Fictional book, a fictional book series that about the takedown of the United States of America by our enemies. In this theory, in this fictional story, so to speak, the author had an idea where the jihadis decided to attack America and bring it down. They did this by importing a bunch of jihadis into the United States through the porous southern border. And then they had a couple of expert terrorists with false identities, with credentials and visas to enter the United States of America, set the whole thing off. The planners, so to speak. One of the things that they did was strap bombs to people and put them in strategic locations, blew them up. They put bombs in vans. They had jihadis who'd come across the border who knew nothing about what they were doing. They had jihadis who were radicalized second generation. So their mom and dad came here, had children. The children had grown up 16, 17, 18, 20, 25 years old. And then they'd been radicalized online. And they did all the getting, all the collecting. As the Syntex came into the port through these vans, these containers that were never checked, they went and picked up the items that were mailed to them in crates or had it delivered to warehouses that they worked for or controlled. And inside there was explosives and all kinds of stuff. They loaded these. This is multiple cases of this. This is how this attack went. They loaded those into vans, Dodge Caravans, and that sort of thing. And then the jihadis that came over with visas and all the stuff gathered these people up. Do you got the van? Do you got the stuff? Okay, load it all in here. And in one particular case, they drove them to bridges, they drove them to tunnels, they drove them to airports, they drove all over. It was like 25 or 30 of them, and blew up the bridges, across the Mississippi River, that kind of thing. One of them, they told us they didn't get explained to all of them, but one of them said, one of the stories was this kid who had no idea what he was doing. He just thought he was helping the jihad. And they were supposed to load this stuff up in New Jersey and take it to New York. And when they were in one of the tunnels, he noticed that he's driving the thing, and the guy he picked up at the airport, they loaded the stuff. They started heading to New York. They were going to hit a tower or something in New York. He started sweating and started praying and started saying, Agbu snack bar. And he looked over, the guy had the detonator in his hand and went, he didn't know he was going to die that day. They blew up inside the tunnel under the water, crossing over from New Jersey to New York. The idea was to shut down commerce, shut down everything. One of the other things that they did is they had a mortar specialist come over. They smuggled in several mortars, and the guy would take the mortar rounds in the weeks leading up, and he would put them in the freezer. And then he would take them out and put them in a bucket of water. Then he would put them back in the freezer, then into the bucket of water until they built ice up around them. And then he went and he was a mortar specialist. He set mortars up outside of oil production facilities, gasoline production facilities, and large power distribution facilities all over Texas, Louisiana, and that neck of the woods, Oklahoma, Arkansas. That was his little area. And so what would happen is he would set those mortars with the ice on it in the mortar tube and then drive away. And the ice would melt. The mortar would drop down. Poof. And this all happened within a day, along with a bunch of other stuff. Airplanes flew into things, that kind of stuff. And it brought America to its knees in this book. Fictional story. But could you imagine if there was a couple hundred of these scattered all over the United States? Now, with that being said, Amanda Grace has prophesied that on the East Coast that there would be snakes streaking across the sky. They never did find the train tanker full of chemicals that disappeared years ago. Yeah, the chemical was fertilizer. Anhydrous ammonia fertilizer, pellet form. Regular anhydrous, non-fertilizer anhydrous, weapons grade, has to be completely airtight because once it gets moisture in it, won't explode. The stuff you buy, now listen to what I'm saying to you. The stuff you buy at the Home Depot does not explode. The stuff you buy at the farm store does not explode. It might burn, but it will not explode. Now, they said that the Oklahoma City bombers went to the Home Depot or someplace and bought a bunch of it, bunch of fertilizer, but the fertilizer, that's why when you go buy anhydrous, it either comes in the liquid form, which they spray on the field, or it comes in the pellet form. If you buy it in the pellet form, the bag is perforated to let moisture in, because then it's not an explosive anymore. Yeah, weird. I wonder how that happened. I wonder why that happened. So we have this. I'm just saying, I'm pointing out that there are things happening that might or might not possibly be a threat. So they bought it from farm supply store like okay. If they bought it from listen to what I'm saying to you. The anhydrous ammonia sold at any farm supply store in the United States of America is non-explosive. It will burn, will not explode. There's too much. It has to have no moisture content. The anhydrous ammonia used for explosives comes in sealed drums so that it can't get any moisture. The stuff used at the supply store is perforated bags so that the moisture can collect in it. It doesn't take much moisture. I don't know what the percentage is, but it doesn't take much. What time is it? What else do we want to talk about? What else are we talking about today? I think I got everything that those subjects covered. Yes, I do. Oh, we got to talk about Dr. Fauci. The Fauci ouchie. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Fauci is still in the news. He went and testified, as you may know or may not know. He went and testified. I got to testify. He went and testified before Congress. And he had some things to say, like, I drink the fifth or something. Only he didn't say much. And there's reasons why. So what's happening on the Fauci front? What's coming out about the Fauci front? Let me talk about this too. WNBA. By the way, WNBA is now another scandals for because Reese, one of the famous, has been busted posting about her betting against WNBA games. The WNBA is falling apart, and I'll show you why they're falling apart. Here's a Fox News story. The reason the WNBA is falling apart because the people that run it, own it, and control it are nothing but a bunch of scum of the earth dirtbags. And they deserve what they're going to get.
Are going against her. Here is video of her fans harassed at the Seattle Storm game. Watch.
You leave my daughter. Go. She's a minor.
Take the sauce out.
Look at that. She is a minor, the mom is saying. The mom's, protecting her daughter. Mama Bear comes over and says, stop harassing my children. The Seattle Storm apologizes now for an exchange between one of the teenagers' owners or one of the team's owners, and two young female fans. So Tuesday night, Seattle Storm played Indiana Fever. They wanted to go and see Sophie, and they sat on the front row. They had their T-shirts on that supported her and supported women in sports.
XXXY.
That's right. That company, that the gymnast, the famous gymnast, she started that company in support
Jennifer
of.
Say.
Yeah, in support of. They had this sign. Look, thank you, Sophie, for speaking up for girls, and they were very brave to hold that sign. But there were a lot of kids there, a lot of young girls that were saying, "Thank you, Sophie, for saying what we say." And two of the fans, they were sitting on the sidelines, as you can see, and the girls said that they were verbally assaulted by the team owner. The team owner's name, she's a co-owner, is Celeste Keaton, and she has been suspended for the next 5 games, and she was fined.
Right. So, yeah. Wait. The fact that you're a minority owner and you go and make this statement is just absolutely insane. You should be proud that anybody's going to your games, period. If the Indiana Fever aren't there. JK, by the way, let me just go read you what Cunningham wrote, responding to the co-owner controversy with the two teams. I truly believe there's a safe space to love and love for everybody. Biological girls, biological boys, trans women, trans men, everyone is welcome at my table. You can disagree. You can still be kind. Bravo to those girls for standing up for what they believe. You'll be hearing from me soon. Yay for gifts. Truly embarrassing of the co-owner. Unfortunately shows the type of leader she is. So certainly not backing
I'll tell you what the co-owner said. Quote, I hope this can forgive you for what sin you've done, for something like that. And then she told us we were blanking insane.
So one of the owners of the Seattle team berated young children because they were fans of Sophie. I'm telling you, the WNBA will get what they get. They will get what they get. I don't see it lasting. I think it's going to fall apart. So the Senator Morano, who was the one that said, "Who the F do you think you are?" was captured in the hallway as he was leaving the building the other day, and he was asked a question, and he gave an answer about Fauci. This guy, he doesn't really like him for some reason.
How do you suspect Fauci's pleading the fifth after testifying 200 plus times before?
This is a piece of shit.
Thank you.
To idiotic politicians who enforce those rules, arrested that mom for watching a football game with her own family outside. When that story broke, I said to myself, I cannot stand idly on the side and watch this happen. It was about 6 years ago today that I decided I'm going to give up my businesses, sell them all, run for office, run for the United States Senate. Here I am sitting in front of you 6 years later saying, who the fuck do you think you were for doing that? It is a total disgrace what you did to this country. And if my Democrat colleagues are standing there defending you, I hope the voters of the United States of America watch the clips of every one of you doting on a guy who was more interested in being a celebrity than saving American people. Fifth Amendment of the Constitution. What does the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution say?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution.
No, I'm just asking you what it says.
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
I'm going to give the Constitution to my aide. He'll bring it over to you so you can have it for future reference. I think it's something that every American should know what the Constitution says. Do you know who wrote?
Well, I had some people say, he's not being a very good Christian. He's not claiming to be a Christian. I don't expect non-Christians to act like Christians. He's just expressing. He probably expresses himself like that all day long. I don't know. I'm not judging him. So let's talk about the Fifth Amendment real quick. People are saying, well, isn't the Fifth Amendment admitting to guilt? No, the Fifth Amendment specifically has nothing to do with guilt. It's been ruled over and over again. Do you remember back in the Rittenhouse trial, the prosecutor tried to bring up that during questioning with his attorney president, that Rittenhouse used the Fifth Amendment a few times. And they tried to bring that up in front of the jury as saying he's admitting that he's guilty, to which the judge asked the jury to leave and told the prosecutor and his counsel that if you do that again, I will hold you in contempt of court, and I will declare a mistrial, and I will put you in prison. You cannot use the Fifth Amendment or somebody using the Fifth Amendment to show guilt. That is Supreme Court. That's like the basic tenet of it. So that's part of the Fifth Amendment. You have the right to not say anything. But it has nothing to do with guilt. In court, let me express this. We're talking legalese. We're talking in court. However, to say when someone asks you what is the Fifth Amendment, declaring the Fifth Amendment makes you look really, really bad in public opinion. I mean, answering the color of the carpet, the color of his tie, makes him look really bad in public opinion. Like, what's going on here? Also, you cannot use the Fifth Amendment if you've been pardoned, because you cannot incriminate yourself because you're no longer a criminal for those things because you've been pardoned. So this is where the contempt of Congress comes from, because he refused to answer the questions and said the Fifth, which is a strategy that he used. By the way, if you use the Fifth Amendment strategy, you have to use the Fifth. What does it say? You have the right to remain silent. Those are the Miranda rights they read to. The Fifth Amendment basically says you can shut up. The problem is you can't remain silent. You can be compelled to testify if you've been pardoned. You can't stand on a privilege you don't have. Exactly. Now, but if you do use the Fifth Amendment, it has been argued and won that once you answer a question, you no longer have a Fifth Amendment right. What color is the carpet? Green. You've just opened the door. So this is the reason why the strategy was Fifth Amendment on everything. The problem is he doesn't have a Fifth Amendment right because he's been pardoned, unless the pardon ain't no good. Now, here we have a circular argument and a constitutional crisis all in one. It's going to be wonderful as this plays out, because I like this sort of thing. Here's CNN with an attorney on there saying maybe pleading the Fifth wasn't the best idea. Like I said, legally, maybe, but in public opinion, it destroyed Fauci.
112 times to invoke the Fifth Amendment. I mean, you can't even string all that together. That obviously it sends a message. Will that strategy work? Because he says, well, I had to do that because, they're looking for perjury traps. Or does that just make it worse? And is he in real trouble?
I think it makes it worse. It's even a curious way in which you wonder what his legal advice was, why they decided to do that.
Yeah.
Because he does not face criminal jeopardy for the pardon in all likelihood. He's pardoned for all actions before January 2025. But that also means that you're forced to testify. That's how prosecutors use immunity or pardons. And they say, now you're forced to testify because you don't have any criminal liability, what we're going to ask you about. So then to plead the Fifth is actually, he could then be held in contempt. There could be, theoretically at least, a Justice Department that goes after him for not answering when he is not really facing that criminal charge.
Yeah, and also when the reason put out is perjury traps, then of course, again, to the layperson, it's saying, well, why wouldn't you just say the truth? What would be the problem in that? Yeah. So, I understand that's a layperson thing, but it doesn't sound good. Trump has repeatedly dismissed Biden's pardons. When you talk about the pardon and everything before January of 2025, I'm sorry. let me just play Trump here.
To sign pardons and all of the things that he signed with an auto pen is disgraceful.
So there you have the argument against using the Fifth Amendment, or that he doesn't even have the privilege of the Fifth Amendment. Now, someone in the comment section, I went by fast. I didn't see it, but I didn't see who said it quickly enough. That he gave an opening statement. I have to go back and watch his opening statement. His opening statement was his reasons for the Fifth Amendment, then yes. But if he gave an opening statement that tried to defend him in any way, his attorney gave a statement which would negate the Fifth Amendment in a court of law. Part of the reason why his attorney, that was their plan. Part of the reason why the attorney was tossed out. Here's MK Truth Ultra and Patricia Heaton. You know who Patricia Heaton is? She's from Everybody Loves Raymond. And they point here he goes, I never thought I would team up with the wonderful Patricia Heaton from Everyone Loves Raymond, but here we are. Unfortunately, sadly, it is true. Dr. Fauci, via the University of Pittsburgh, grafted aborted baby scalps into mice and rats. The grafts would then grow fine human baby hair, and the work was funded by the NIAID grant while Fauci headed it. And Patricia Heaton says, I remember when I saw those pictures of baby hair on the backs of mice, and I thought it was fake. I couldn't imagine that it was happening. Fake news, but it wasn't fake news. It was evil. It was total 100% evil. You know, just remember, the government did more to stop the distribution of ivermectin and hydrochloroquine, I can't say that word, HCQ, than it ever did to stop the distribution of fentanyl. Think about that for a minute. It's almost like they were in on it. Let me hold on. I got some more Fauci news we're going to get to for sure. My computer's just being slower than pond water, and it's getting on my nerves. Here's one. Who's back in the news for her another 15 minutes of fame? Oh, the scarf lady, Deborah Bricks. She's back in defending Fauci. She should be next to testify, by the way. She didn't get a pardon as far as I know.
It was said today many times by Republicans, or implied rather, that Dr. Fauci was a villain or a monster or someone who had some reckoning to come to because of all the mistakes he made and he foisted on the American public. I'd like your evaluation of that line of criticism.
I think all of us need to be quite honest with ourselves about how not only the information evolved, but the needs for the relevant, what we call countermeasures, should have also evolved. What do I mean by that? When this first hit, we didn't have enough testing out there. We couldn't stop the spread in any way. Hospitals were being overrun. We didn't have a supply chain that matched the need. And so the first part and the few months were a crisis. But once we got additional therapies, monoclonal antibodies, long-acting monoclonal antibodies, remdesivir, where there were actually additional treatments, then you can pull back on some of the mitigation. But because it was an election year, there were states that persisted in their very tight mitigations, and others that showed us a way that you could open K through 12 and higher ed. And I saw it myself. If you gave higher ed tests, they really prevented spread. And so we should have a dialogue about how are we going to do this next time? How are we going to prevent spread? How do we keep K through 12 open? How do we keep higher ed open? How do we keep businesses open? And there's a way to do it. And then we have that roadmap, but we need to get that down in real concrete terms and have both the right and the left agree that that's the best way forward.
Well, yes, we all have to agree and have consensus, but there's one way, there's the right way, and there's the wrong way. So I posted some prophetic words on Facebook, and I'm waiting for and it's about Israel, and they haven't responded. The people that have been pestering me until I blasted them with some scripture the last time that it was on about a week ago. I just kept responding with scripture. And they said it was very weird that I just kept posting scripture. And I said, well, that's because for those who are perishing, who do not know God, it's weird to talk scripture. And this person's a Christian, but I'm waiting for them to respond, because my response, whatever they say about how wrong I am and the Jews are evil, my response to them will be, because it's a prophetic word from God, I believe. I've said it 1,000 times on this show since the beginning of the year. I guess it wouldn't be 1,000 times, however many days there are. And my response is this, and it applies to this person too. He said, either I'm a liar, and meaning the word didn't come from God, or you're wrong. Those are the two options. And that implies that you, as who claims to be a Christian, is wrong in the face of God. Maybe you should check yourself before you wreck yourself, if you know what I mean. Probably ought not do that. But, what do I know? There's a whole segment on my show about AI on my Telegram page, where RFK Jr. and Tommy Robinson, is that his name? The motivational speaker guy, about AI. They have a long discussion. I've got segments of it. I'm not going to have time to cover it. Make sure you go to telegram.org, and download the app that fits. You don't have to put it on your phone. It'll slow down your phone. You can put it on your computer or your laptop or whatever. Download that app and then go to t.me/Patriot Mike Thoughts. t.me/Patriot Mike Thoughts. t.me/Patriot Mike Thoughts will get you right to my Telegram page. Hit the follow button, then immediately hit the down at the bottom and hit the mute button, or else it'll drive you crazy. Make sure you go do that. Now, I want to get this in too before the end of the show. I got a couple other things about Fauci I want to talk about, but I want to get this in. And that is Kinoka the Great. I say his name wrong. It is what it is. He's great. I try to give everybody credit for the things that I post, that it's not myself saying it, Utah prosecutors disclosed another confession from Tyler Robinson, along with graphic new details of Charlie Kirk's autopsy. The medical examiner found that the bullet obliterated the left side of the C2, C7 vertebrae and transected the cervical spinal cord. Now, I posted a video of an expert in autopsies, has done over victims of gunshot. He's done over 7,000 gunshot victim deaths, autopsies, forensics for court cases. And he's an expert in it. And he said the way that Charlie reacted when the shot happened, he said, it is my assumption that the spinal cord was severed. In other words, it was an instantaneous death for Charlie. But anyways, he said a significant portion of Mr. Kirk's cervical spinal cord was critically absent. In other words, it obliterated the spinal cord. When Robinson's friends initially thought his Discord confession was a joke, he insisted it was me. Look at the pictures from the surveillance footage. It was me. I'm serious. This is from the memorandum supporting bindover of Tyler Robinson. Whatever that means. Anyways, I got the documents. You can read them on my Telegram page. I told you how to get to my Telegram page. I'm not going to go through it for time's sake. But that's latest thing to come out, that basically that good doctor that was talking about of his experience, he thought what happened was that it severed several vertebrae, and he named off a few right in that area. And then he said that it probably severed his spinal cord and that he was good. Tony Robinson, whatever his name is. You can go on my Telegram page, see that too. I don't know. They talked about AI, some good stuff there, some bad stuff there. You decide. Maybe we'll talk about it next week. Maybe we won't. I don't have time to talk about it right now because I want to get to some other Fauci things. I got stuff from the typical DSA people out there. Here's Lawrence O'Donnell talking about what happened with Dr. Fauci. Oh, why did we do that? What happened with Dr. Fauci yesterday? And it was one of the darkest, or was it Wednesday? It's the darkest day in the history of America. These guys have a lot of dark days, by the way.
Senator Blumenthal was right. It was one of the darkest days in our Senate's history. Anthony Fauci helped save millions of lives with his work on HIV medications. He expanded his life-saving reach to Africa with the support of George W. Bush by creating a President's Emergency Fund to support AIDS treatment in Africa that saved over 25 million lives before Elon Musk and Donald Trump decided that those lives were not worth saving. Not one Republican congressional committee, not one Republican senator is investigating how many thousands of people have died because Donald Trump and Elon Musk took their life-saving HIV medicine away. Not one Republican congressional committee is investigating how many babies have starved to death because Elon Musk decided to let food supplies that had already been delivered to Africa rot in warehouses instead of distributing that food to starving people. That is the Republican contribution to public health in today's world. And not one Republican senator has ever objected to taking that food assistance away from starving children and starving mothers and starving grandmothers and taking life-saving medicine away from people who cannot get that life-saving medicine any other way. The life-saving medicine that Dr. Anthony Fauci helped them get. There is no higher calling than saving lives. There is nothing we could ever do more important than saving a single life. And most of us will never know that feeling of saving a life. And all of us owe our gratitude to Anthony Fauci, and many of us may owe our lives to Anthony Fauci. And Anthony Fauci owes nothing to Republicans.
I owe not a damn thing to Fauci.
He does not owe them an answer to a single question. He's already answered every one of the questions that they were throwing around that room today. He's answered them many times in congressional testimony and in other interviews. Every one of them, every one of those questions, he's answered in previous appearances. Sometimes news stories come down to a very simple right and wrong, and this is one of them. Anthony Fauci is right, and every one of those Republican senators is very, very wrong.
Anthony Fauci is right. Did you get your booster? You sound boosted. I'm just asking. Why did you get a booster? Did it not work the first time, the second time, third time, the fifth time, the ninth time, the 10th time? They'll come out in September or November and say, make sure you get your flu shot and your COVID booster, which I won't get either. And I won't get the flu. Or maybe I'll get the sniffles. I don't know. It happens. It turns out that Dr. Fauci in his diary said that the death rate was 0.2. Way, way less than he said. And most of the people who died had comorbidities, like were on hospice for cancer. Just like that, I wonder. So let's skip ahead. I got a few more things I want to cover, and then we'll get off here. Come on, computer. Oh, starting to get frustrating. I'm going to have to change a few things up again. Try something different. Thank you for the new upgraded computers. The problem is getting them all to work together and not argue with each other. Fun times. Let's see. So what do we got? What do we got right here? We got, let's see here, Dr. Fauci. We're looking for Dr. Fauci. Hello, Dr. Fauci. Yeah. Like, come on, computer, load already. Makes it, I have to sit here and stall and wait for things to load. It's kind of getting on my nerves. You know, Dr. Fauci, one of these days is going to stand in heaven. One of these days. You know it's going to happen, right? It's going to stand in heaven. I plead the fifth, he'll say. And you notice down in the bottom corner there is the book of life. And he says, that doesn't fly up here, buddy. Oh, that's not exactly how it works, but it might be how it works. I don't know. You don't get to plead the fifth in heaven. I'm sorry. In fact, you don't get to plead anything. You just get what you get. Somebody redid it. Somebody redid the I plead the fifth, and it looks a little something like this.
I plead the fifth. I plead the fifth. 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Anything you say, fifth. Go ahead, ask me a question. Fifth.
I plead the fifth. That's it right there. You know, it's only funny because it's funny. You know what I mean? It's just, it's funny. That's all you got to do. Now, here is RFK Jr. on the Glenn Beck show. This is the one I wanted to get to. So a lot of people are like, how did he get the diary? How did they get the diary? How did he get the diary? Now there's some stuff that came out about the diary and how it was found. But RFK Jr. goes on the Glenn Beck show and tells Glenn Beck exactly where the diary came from.
You found these diaries, and everybody is saying these are private diaries. Could you please lay this to rest? These are not private. They were, I don't know why he put them on, but they were put on government servers.
Yeah, well, you know, every American knows this who has a job. If you go into your office and the company that you work for gives you a laptop, and you do work on that laptop, it belongs to the company. And that is true. That is federal law. If you do something on a government server, it belongs to the government. So he was keeping a diary for the book that he intended to write about his life. And at the end of his term, just before he was leaving, he emailed the entire diary to himself. So for years and years of keeping this daily journal, he emailed it to himself so that he could write his book, and that's how we found it, through those emails.
But he knows that. I mean,
it's not a diary. It's not a diary in the sense, like you said, that a teenage girl keeps a diary that's private and has a lock on it. This is a government computer, a government laptop on government time, keeping this account of what his official duties are, and then making private observations about them. The liberal media is now feigning indignation that we released private diaries and violated his privacy, but it's a crazy assertion. And what they're really doing is covering up this, like you pointed out, this vast media malpractice that took place during COVID, when they elevated this guy to a deified status, who had funded the weaponization of coronavirus, who then had given it to a Chinese military-run lab, to two scientists there, Xi Jinping and Ben Hu, who further weaponized it using NIH technology that they got from another NIH grantee, Ralph Barrick at the University of North Carolina.
Yeah.
And they created SARS-CoV-2, and Ben Hu, who was seen as a second scientist on it, is patient zero. So he was the first person to get sick from COVID-19. And then, if you look at the subway line that goes from the Wuhan lab, all the original cases were on that subway line. So these scientists were infected. They were getting on the subway. People were getting infected, at each stop along the way. And that subway led right from the Wuhan lab to the airport. So people then spread it internationally.
So they're talking about, how Fauci did it all, and talking about the diary was on government computers, dummy. I mean, you couldn't carry an extra laptop around with you so that you could diarrhea away on your own away on your own laptop. No. We can't do that. That would be uncouth. That would be not cool. That would be too smart. All right, you know what today is? It's Friday. That means that they got a nice weekend coming up. So make sure you go do nice weekend things. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about what's happening. Don't worry about the war. Don't worry about none of it. Go spend time with your family. Take a break. Rock your grandchildren. Eat some delicious food somewhere. Barbecue. Whatever you do for fun, do that. And make sure that you stop by and worship the Lord with a bunch of your friends and family. Because although I know you say, I could be a Christian and not go to church. It's true. You could. But it's better to be with a congregation that loves you and you love them, to worship the Lord together. Trust me, it's better. Go do that this weekend. I will be. Where at? I don't know. Wherever God tells me to go. That season is coming to an end, by the way, I think. This next season the new season is coming. We'll see what happens. By the way, if you want to support the Patriot Mike Show, there's multiple ways to do it. You can. But one more thing. Links in the description section, or you can send me a message on Facebook or 660-620-2644. 660-620-2644 or PatriotMikeShow@gmail.com. One more thing. Looking for just a couple of people. I was 5, but just a couple of more people. But the more the merrier. If you want to be part of the 5 or part of the 10. If anybody who has not already purchased something this month decides they want to purchase something this month, that's not a social marketer, that's just a customer, from my accounts at Nueva to support the Patriot Mike Show, because I just need a couple more people. I've got the points. I need the people to get to the next level I've never been to, which opens up a whole new world of percentages, and I like the percentages. You have till the midnight tonight. You have till midnight tonight, Eastern time. So 11 o'clock Central, whatever time it is where you're at, to purchase something to be counted into that. And if you do, and I figure out how to get to, I think I can transfer over into your wallet, your gift wallet. I might not be able to. If I can't do it that way, we'll find another way. Venmo, Cash App, something like that. I will give you $10 for your time. So please give it a shot and let me know that you did, and we'll figure it out. All right. So you guys have a great day. Appreciate y'all being out there. See you Monday. Patriot Mike is out.
They can bury the truth, but they can't kill the soul. Cut through the noise, get back to what matters. Stomp that floor, raise that hand, hear that truth roll across the land. We've been bent, we've been bruised, still we stand with nothing to lose. It ain't easy, the road is long and hard. We stand for our freedom right here in our own backyard. Yes, Patriot Mike, standing tall and free. Patriot Mike, for you and for me. with the Patriot Mike Show.